Before we begin this journey into the true story of Charles "Pretty Boy" Floyd, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. These stories, torn from America's darkest history, deserve to be remembered. They are tales of law, of blood, of betrayal, and of legends that refuse to die. America, the early 1930s. The Great Depression had sunk its teeth deep into the country. Banks foreclosed on homes, factories shuttered, farmers lost everything. For many, the American dream had died, but in that darkness rose a new kind of figure. Men who lived outside the law, who robbed banks, defied federal agents, and became folk heroes for the poor. Among them, one name spread like wildfire: Pretty Boy Floyd. Charles Arthur Floyd was born February 3, 1904 in Bartow County, Georgia. His family was poor, farmers scratching the earth for survival. Like many in the South, they carried little more than faith and grit. When Charles was 7, the Floyd family packed their belongings and moved west to Oklahoma, chasing better soil and opportunity. But the move did little to ease the poverty. Charles grew up lean, wiry, and restless. He worked in the fields, but he was no stranger to hunger or to watching neighbors lose their land to ruthless banks. Those early years hardened him, gave him a sense that the system wasn't built for men like him. At 16, he was already running with a rough crowd. At 18, he married Ruby Hardgraves, a farmer's daughter. Soon they had a son, but Charles was no settled man. He craved more than the soil could give. His first known crime was stealing from a payroll truck in St. Louis. The haul wasn't large, but it was enough to get him noticed. By his early 20s, Floyd was drifting between Oklahoma and Missouri, running liquor, robbing banks, and building a reputation. It wasn't long before the law caught up. In 1925, he was arrested for a payroll robbery in St. Louis and sentenced to 3 years at the Missouri State Penitentiary. Prison hardened him, taught him discipline, and introduced him to men who would shape his outlaw future. When Floyd got out in 1929, America was collapsing. Wall Street had crashed, banks were folding, and desperation was everywhere. That's when his legend began. He was lean, sharp-dressed, with piercing eyes and boyish features. Women found him attractive. Men feared him. One Kansas City prostitute reportedly called him a pretty boy, and the name stuck, though Floyd himself despised it. He wanted to be known as Chalk, short for Choctaw beer, his drink of choice. But history would remember him as Pretty Boy Floyd. And so, with the nation spiraling deeper into depression, Floyd set out to make his mark. Not by working the fields, but by robbing banks. Unlike some outlaws who killed indiscriminately, Floyd operated with a strange sense of principle. Witness after witness would later testify that Floyd carried a code. He destroyed mortgage papers during his robberies. In an era when banks were foreclosing on thousands of families, burning those records meant wiping out debts. Farmers returned home to find their mortgages vanished. It earned Floyd the title of the Robin Hood of the Cookson Hills. But make no mistake, Floyd was no saint. He was armed, dangerous, and willing to spill blood when cornered. He and his partners hit banks across Oklahoma, Missouri, and Ohio, often blasting through with Tommy guns and making off with thousands. Newspapers sensationalized his heists. Some called him a ruthless killer, others a hero for the common man. But the truth, as always, was somewhere in between. In 1930, Floyd was arrested again in Ohio after a robbery gone wrong. He was sentenced to 15 years in prison. But prison walls couldn't hold him. Within 3 years he escaped, vanishing back into the Cookson Hills of Oklahoma, where poor farmers shielded him from the law. Here's where the legend deepened. Witnesses recalled Floyd sharing stolen money with struggling families, buying groceries for children and slipping cash to widows. Whether these stories were truth or myth didn't matter, people believed them. And as his reputation grew, so did the FBI's obsession with capturing him. On June 17, 1933, history took a bloody turn. At Union Station in Kansas City, lawmen were escorting captured fugitive Frank Nash to prison. Suddenly, gunfire erupted. The ambush was brutal. Machine gun fire sprayed across the parking lot, killing 4 lawmen and Nash himself. The crime became known as the Kansas City Massacre. Within hours, J. Edgar Hoover's FBI pointed the finger at Pretty Boy Floyd. Newspapers branded him a cop killer. His legend turned from folk hero to most wanted outlaw. But here's the truth rarely told. Evidence linking Floyd to the massacre was thin at best. Eyewitness accounts conflicted. Some said they saw Floyd there, others swore he wasn't. Later, researchers uncovered testimony suggesting that Floyd had been in another state at the time, yet the FBI never backed down. From 1933 to 1934, Floyd was America's most hunted outlaw. Every robbery, every shootout, his name appeared. He traveled with his partner Adam Richetti, moving through safe houses, dodging police raids, always armed, always wary. Witnesses remembered Floyd as polite, even charming, but quick to draw a gun if threatened. He knew his time was short. He once told a friend, "I'll never go back to prison. They'll have to kill me first." On October 22, 1934, Floyd's run came to its bloody conclusion. He and Richetti were driving through Ohio when they crashed their car during a police pursuit. Richetti was captured. Floyd escaped into the fields. For 2 days, he hid, moving farm to farm. Witnesses claimed he was exhausted, wounded, and starving. Farmers later admitted they gave him food, even directions, still seeing him as a folk hero. But the FBI was closing in. Hoover had dispatched top agents alongside local police and even a group of civilian lawmen known as the Purcell Rangers. Near East Liverpool, Ohio, they caught him. Accounts of Floyd's death vary. The official FBI version claimed Floyd was armed, refusing to surrender, and was gunned down in a hail of bullets while trying to escape. But eyewitnesses told another story. Local lawman Chester Smith later revealed that Floyd had been captured alive, wounded, but breathing. Smith claimed it was the FBI who finished him off, executing him in cold blood. Why? Some believe Hoover didn't want Floyd testifying about the Kansas City massacre, testimony that might have proven his innocence and embarrassed the Bureau. Charles "Pretty Boy" Floyd was buried in Aikens, Oklahoma. 20,000 people attended his funeral, farmers, neighbors, poor families who saw him as their protector. Songs were written about him. Stories passed through generations. Was he a ruthless killer or a Robin Hood figure who stood up to corrupt banks? The truth lies tangled between fact and myth. What is certain is this: Floyd's story became part of America's outlaw folklore, where crime, poverty, and legend intersected. And to this day, historians still debate, was Pretty Boy Floyd a villain, or a hero born of desperate times?